G'day everyone, welcome back to Analytical Strategy and welcome back to another week's recaps for Australian Survivor. Today we're going to be looking at episode 7 and boy was it a beauty. There's a lot of strategy to break down with the biggest blindside of the season so far. But first we'll take a look at the newly formed Brawn tribe with the addition of Kara. So at the Brawn camp, Kara has arrived after being voted out and straight away she was a hot commodity. Before there were attempts to trying to pull her over, she's already spilled the beans on the Brains tribe, letting it all out about how Joey was in charge and how she was aligned with George and how trustworthy he is. Now likely this would have been revealed later in the game anyway, and again, as glad as I am that Kara is still in the game and I don't blame her for making all these moves, I would be doing the same if I was in her position. However, it does add to why I'm not a big fan of people getting voted off and then staying in the game. Firstly, it can disrupt well-formed plans in the person's original tribe, for people that worked really hard to get there. And secondly, the people who have been voted out seem to become power players in the game. Kara is sitting in an extremely good spot right now, with Shannon coming at her from one side to reel her in, and Simon seemingly coming from the other side to bring her into his alliance. Now this to me is another reason as to why unity is so important in the early stages of the game, especially in Australian Survivor, where it really looks like this twist of someone getting voted out to the other tribes looks like it is here to stay. Having this extremely close alliance breakdown in Brawn currently, of 5 versus 4 I believe it was prior to Kara arriving, automatically by default puts Kara in this power role, a swing vote, whilst if there was this unity then this power could not be obtained. I really did think this episode was being set up for a Simon versus Shannon showdown, with Simon playing an idol and Shannon in the end going home, but they did end up winning immunity and the Brains were sent back to Tribal. Now before we unpack this huge tribal council, we of course must touch upon the hidden immunity idol being hidden in the challenge. And for the first time I think I've seen internationally, it was announced by the host of the show openly to all the contestants, rather than finding a clue back at camp. Now I do actually quite like this concept of an idea in a regular season, or maybe this being the merge idol or something like that, rather than in this circumstance in an already heavily idol dominated season. I mean, Simon could have gone for it and had 3 idols before the first tribe swap. That would have been literally borderline ridiculous. So whilst I don't think this was the best time to do this twist, I do like this concept in an alternate setting. Now in the end, George, Gerald and Hayley went for it, and Hayley came out the victor. So I can definitely understand the thoughts behind each of these individuals going for it, and I'm actually surprised more people didn't. So George definitely should have gone for the idol of course, as he's been a clear target and in the minority for the majority of the game. Now Gerald, I'm not sure he needed to go for the idol, however he thought he was in trouble in his mind, as he thought he lost the reward for his tribe, which I personally don't think is true, nor do I think he was necessarily in any danger, but I do understand his mindset if he thought he was. And then there was Hayley, who was the clear star of this episode, as she's played a really low-key game to now, and she could have claimed to her tribe that she just went for the idol so it would be out of George's hands. So I think it's a low-key decent move, but I think she should use it sooner than later to get the spotlight off her. I mean, even with tribe swaps incoming, both the Brains and the Brawn tribe knows that Hayley has this idol. So with the Brawn tribe not knowing the dynamic, there may be this automatic focus on her to some degree. Now if I was Simon, I personally would have gone for that idol, and could nearly have just worn 3 idols around his neck at all times for the rest of the game. It'd be basically saying it's suicide if you want to come at me, and again I'm not sure if someone has ever had 3 idols in the whole game, let alone this early in the game, so I think he definitely should have gone for it. Especially as someone who is on the minority and is a target already. They couldn't have had a crack at him or anything for doing so. So moving on from that, we have the strategy to unpack from a huge Brains tribal council with a massive blindside. So Joey comes back from the immunity loss and he has one person in his eyes to get out in King George. Absolutely no surprises there. And right before a tribe swap and with no protection, it is the prime time to get George out. However, George had another saviour this episode. It was Kara in the last, but tonight it was Hayley. So as mentioned, Hayley has been hiding in the middle a little bit this season, being happy to float with the crowd, but has been patiently waiting to make a move to put the power in her hands. So whilst Joey had his core alliance of 4, plus Hayley and Rachel to form a strong 6, Hayley was very aware that she was not in that core 4 and was a number on the outside. So due to this, she pulled in all the rest of the players on the outside of this core 4 in Rachel, George, Baden, and Wei to form a new strong 5 to now obtain the majority of this tribe and take out the top dog in Joey. She was able to talk to each of these individuals in the minority absolutely perfectly and really talk to their position in the game and really appeal to their position to ensure that they knew this was the right move to make for them. I think she even just filled in George at Tribal Council, which again I think was absolutely genius to pull it off this way if so, as George can still be frantic and uncomfortable at camp, whilst if she told him prior to Tribal, maybe the Core 4 could have caught on based on his movements again, similarly to last Tribal Council once he found an idol. Now the real question is how fantastic this move was for Hayley and how well she pulled it off. Was it the right move for her to make? Now I am in two minds about whether this was the right move to make, to be honest, so I will start with the pros overall. She was absolutely 100% correct on every single read that she made. She knew everyone's position perfectly in this tribe, including her own, and knew that timing is everything in Survivor, and to switch that core 4 from being the final 4 in her tribe, this was definitely the perfect time to do so. She went from being in the middle to likely being at the top of this new alliance with an idol in her pocket. I also think after making this move, all eyes are still going to be on George, and likely be like, wow George, how did you pull this off? And it may still keep Hayley off everyone's radar and out of the spotlight, as being this power player that she is. So I definitely think there are a lot of positives to making this move. Now on the contrary, as we saw, the next episode is the tribe swap, and this is again where I think having the most numbers on your side pre-swap is really beneficial to when these swaps occur. Hayley could have stuck with Joey in his numbers and still been in that 6. Also having Wei on her side, and she probably could have made a pitch to Baden that George is still the person to go this episode, but she still wants to work with Baden really closely moving forward in the game. And if that was the case, she basically could have kept every remaining brain on her side prior to this tribe swap occurring. But instead, now she has 3 people in Laura, Andrew and Georgia that know they're on the outs of this tribe and are probably quite happy to switch up and work with the Brawn tribe. I think if she waited until the swap, she still could have made this power play against Joey's core 4, with using Brawn members as well to do so. But even in saying this, I think we've seen some extremely positive things from Hayley, that she is going to be one to watch out for this season. She is able to speak to you with your best interests in mind, whilst these interests still working to her advantage. She is an absolute beast in challenges, so I think she is a huge threat and someone I think could definitely win this season. I also really like Baden and how chill of a player he is, but also is another one that seems to know his position well, and not be a big threat, so in terms of people, I think these two could do really well, and potentially do it together. I think Hayley and Baden are the 2 brains to watch out for moving forward in this game. But next episode, it is tribe swap time, with a lot of fractures within both tribes, so this is where the element of luck may play a massive role in who will be the next to go. It really is anyone's guess, and I'm super keen to see what happens. Also, as a side note, George made it to the tribe swap. I actually think he could go pretty deep now, which is even crazy to think about, but again, I'm keen to see how it all unfolds. So tune in tomorrow to hear my thoughts on the next episode as I look forward to continuing to break down this wild and crazy season. Thank you all for listening. This is Analytical Strategy and we are signing out once again. I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.